we reach the first bedroom and I just turn. We see this teddy bear lying. And I call that the Annabelle of India, And you'll see why the Annabelle of India.
Welcome to OG, original ghost stories where the shadows whisper and the spirits speak. Every story here is real, every chill is genuine. If you think you're brave enough, let's dive into the unknown together. When Sarabjit, a renowned ghost hunter, was called to a seemingly ordinary house in Bhubaneswar, he had no idea of the chilling ordeal awaiting him. The residence, steeped in mystery and dread, had become a focal point of terror for its inhabitants. The disturbances were frequent and unsettling, unexplained noises, objects moving on their own, and a doll that seemed to be at the center of it all. This doll, an antique Victorian toy, had a reputation that sent shivers down the spine of anyone who came near it. Locals whispered that it was possessed by the spirit of a young woman, wrongfully accused of a crime, tortured, and left to die within these very walls. Upon arrival, Sarabjit and his team were immediately struck by the house's oppressive atmosphere. The aged structure groaned with every breeze, and shadows seemed to dance eerily along its corridors. The team set up their equipment, night vision cameras, EMF detectors, and audio recorders strategically throughout the house, hoping to capture any evidence of the supernatural. As night fell, the haunting began in earnest. Subtle disturbances emerged first: faint thumps from the terrace, creaking doors, and an unshakable feeling of being watched. But the true terror began with the doll. It was positioned in a corner of the living room, its glassy eyes seeming to follow every movement. The doll's presence was unnervingly lifelike, and its reputation for malevolence was well earned. The local legend told of a young woman who had been a victim of grave injustice. Wrongly accused, she was tortured and eventually died within the house. Her spirit, it was believed, had become bound to the doll, using it as a vessel to channel her agony and rage. This chilling backstory added a layer of gravity to the investigation. The tension escalated dramatically when one of Sarabjit's crew members, a camera operator, encountered something terrifying. While filming in the kitchen, he suddenly felt an invisible force gripping his leg. The sensation was so intense that it felt like being dragged towards a cupboard. His leg twisted unnaturally, and despite his desperate attempts to hold onto the doorframe, he was unable to break free. His screams pierced the night, and Sarabjit, initially skeptical, rushed to his aid. Upon inspection, Sarabjit found no physical obstructions, but the crew member's leg bore 5 dark, distinct fingerprints, as though something had seared its mark into his flesh. The sight was both chilling and perplexing, leaving the team rattled and on edge. Undeterred, Sarabjit pressed forward with the investigation. The house seemed to pulsate with malevolent energy. Heavy objects, including a large rock, crashed to the floor with thunderous noise, and shadows on the walls took on unnerving forms. Sarabjit decided to retreat to a single room, cut off all lights, and attempt direct communication with the spirit. In the darkness, Sarabjit used a spirit communication device that allowed him to ask yes or no questions. The responses were eerie and revealing. The spirit, it turned out, had been trapped for decades, longing for release but unable to escape the confines of the house. Through the device, Sarabjit learned that the spirit was indeed the young woman from the legend, her suffering and unresolved anguish bound to the doll that had become a focal point of her torment. Sarabjit's questions ranged from whether the spirit knew it was dead to whether it understood that it was bound to the house. The responses were hauntingly direct. The spirit seemed to struggle with the realization of its death, and the oppressive atmosphere of the house began to lift as the entity started to come to terms with its situation. Sarabjit felt a profound sense of relief, as if the spirit was finally ready to accept its fate and move on. As the investigation drew to a close, Sarabjit and his team noticed a final, eerie detail. The doll, which had been a focal point of the haunting, had moved from its original position to the exact spot it had occupied when they first arrived. The doll, once a symbol of fear and torment, now seemed to embody the resolution of the spirit's suffering. Weeks later, Sarabjit followed up with his family. They reported that the disturbances had ceased completely, and the house, once abandoned, was now ready for new occupants. The relief in the family's voices was palpable, and the house seemed to have finally found peace. The investigation had not only addressed the immediate issues, but had also uncovered the tragic history of the spirit and the role of the doll in the haunting. The case of the Annabelle of India had proven to be one of Sarabjit's most intense and revealing investigations. The doll, which had once been a symbol of terror, now stood as a reminder of the mysterious and eerie aspects of the supernatural world. The tragic story of the young woman and the doll's malevolent influence left an indelible mark on all who witnessed the events. The haunting had served as a stark reminder of the unresolved past that linger in the shadows, waiting for acknowledgement and resolution. As Sarabjit departed from the house, he carried with him a sense of closure and a deeper understanding of the supernatural. The investigation had unveiled the intricate connections between the living and the dead, highlighting the power of acknowledgement and the quest for peace in the face of the unknown. While dolls are inanimate objects, they often serve as conduits for spiritual entities. In the world of the supernatural, it's believed that spirits, especially those who have suffered or met a tragic end, may choose to inhabit objects that represent innocence, such as dolls. Unlike a living being, a doll is devoid of a soul, making it a hollow vessel that can be easily manipulated or possessed by a spirit looking for a way to anchor itself to the physical world. Thanks for joining us on this haunting journey through OG. If these tales sent a shiver down your spine, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. But remember, when the lights go out, the story isn't over. Until next time, stay curious, stay haunted.